podcast, The Expert's View. In today's episode, we have the pleasure of speaking with Susan Douglas, a senior advisor at the British Council with over 2 decades of experience in education. Susan has played a pivotal role in shaping leadership programs across more than 60 countries. Her work focuses on professional development, inclusion, and global education strategy. Susan's expertise has touched the lives of countless educators worldwide, making her one of the most influential voices in education today. Let's dive into this insightful conversation with Susan as we explore the future of education, leadership, and the role of global collaboration in shaping tomorrow's classroom. Thank you very much, Susan Douglas, for your time.
It's my pleasure, Nakib.
And I welcome you to my podcast, The Expert's View. We are glad having you. Yes, Susan, I wonder if you could just share something about your educational leadership role, because you have been working with more than 60 countries. And it was my pleasure meeting you in London, if you remember.
I do remember Nakib. Yes, absolutely. So I have been working in education now, yes, for many years, as you rightly say. I think 34 now, in fact. Um, and currently, I have two jobs. Actually, I have two roles. Um, One is that I run a group of schools here in England. So
Mm,
we have 11 schools, and all of those schools cater for children with severe learning difficulties. So children who find it very difficult to learn, so need extra support with their learning. So that's one of the jobs that I do. And then the other job that I have done over the last 18 years is
mm,
that I've done some work for the British Council. Um, I've done various different things for the council, but as you rightly said in your introduction, a lot of it has focused on the importance of school leadership
mm,
and the importance of the role of school leaders in developing the quality of teaching in their schools and ensuring that provision is of the highest standard. So a lot of work on school leadership. And then I've also done quite a lot of work on inclusion. So thinking about how we ensure that all young people can access and engage in their education successfully. Um,
mm,
and then I suppose finally, the other bit is that I've been very lucky because I have been part of a team of people at the British Council who've brought people together to learn from each other, whether that be school leaders or teachers, or in fact, policymakers. It's been a real privilege to bring people together to learn so they can learn from each other and so that they can support each other to improve the quality of what they're doing in schools because no system is perfect and we all have to keep learning, don't we, and keep learning from each other so that we can improve the quality of what's going on in our schools.
Thank you so much. Yes, Susan, can I ask you, what inspired your work for education? And you have been working in several countries. What was behind it?
I mean, why did I originally want to go into education? Yeah. Oh, I always wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to be a teacher since I was a little girl. I wanted to be a teacher because I suppose, I mean, education is so important, isn't it? It's so important. It enables and empowers people to take their place in society and to contribute to that society. Um, and so yeah, that's what I always wanted to do, and I was interested in working for the British Council, just because I was interested to learn from other systems, their successes, what they do well. I think any system that you visit anywhere in the world, you can learn how to do something better. And so I was very interested to learn from other countries. And I've been lucky, as I've said, to support some countries to think about how they might improve the quality of school leadership, or they might improve the education for pupils with disabilities, for example. So, yeah, I always wanted to work in education, and I've never regretted it.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Yes, Susan Douglas, you have worked in 60 plus countries. What has that global exposure taught you about education?
Oh, well, that's a really good question. I think what it's taught me is that we're all far more similar to each other than we realize. So even though I've visited countries with very different contexts from England, um, I've been into lots of schools in Africa, in Asia, in Europe, in Latin America, but actually I've seen far more similarities than I have differences. That I think that's a really important thing to understand, actually, because I think that sometimes we can think that context is everything, but actually when it comes down to it, a good teacher is a good teacher anywhere in the world. And I've seen some fantastic teachers in all sorts of very different contexts. So if I give you an example, Nakib, I remember visiting a school in quite a rural part of Ethiopia, and the school building itself was fairly basic. If I compare it with a school maybe in London here in England, it was fairly basic. But the quality of the lesson that I saw, you could have put that teacher into any classroom around the world, and the children would have been absolutely entranced by her teaching. Um, so yeah, so I think that's one thing to say, is that we're far more similar than we realize. I think the other things that I've learned, definitely the emphasis on leadership is right. I think that the quality of the school leader is absolutely fundamentally important. Um, and I've seen that demonstrated in many, many countries in which I've worked. Um, and I suppose that maybe the third important thing to say is that I think sometimes we fall into the trap in education of reinventing the wheel. And I think that it's really important, therefore, to learn from each other so that we don't keep reinventing the wheel. We learn from each other, and we learn from systems that have improved a particular aspect of practice. So I'm very lucky, for example, that I lead a program every year, which is a partnership program between England and Singapore. And every year, our Singaporean counterparts will tell us what they've learned from the English system. And, we have the opportunity to learn from the Singaporean system. And so I've taken, a huge amount of learning from running that program, for example, on the importance of continuous professional development for teachers, making sure that's embedded into the system. Um, so yeah, learning from each other, I think, is a really important thing, and I think it's something that we should all think about. I mean, you're doing it now, aren't you, through your podcast? You're enabling people to learn from each other, um, and I think we should always be looking outwards in that way.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And yes, it's pretty important. We can learn from each other. And
Mm.
that is the real knowledge. Yes, thank you so much. Susan Douglas, can you share some projects you are currently working on?
Um, yes, I can share. I can share one. At the moment, I'm working with Lebanon. Um, Lebanon are developing a really interesting model for supporting children with special educational needs and disabilities. Um, and they are developing a model which involves a hub and spoke. So you have a school in the center, and then schools around the outside in a spokes into on spokes. And what they're going to do is that the school in the center, the hub school, is going to be a completely inclusive school, a school for children with more complex learning difficulties. And that school's role is going to be to support the learners that are in that school with their learning, but also to support the other schools on the spokes to deliver more inclusive classrooms. So that's an exciting project that I'm doing some work on.
Yeah, that truly is wonderful. And I appreciate all your work you're doing for such countries, and even you have been working with Pakistani schools as well. Yes, thank you so much. Can you just tell me, how does the British Council support teachers and educational leaders worldwide?
Or the British Council has huge number of um, offers for teachers, which are all very easily accessible on the British Council website. Obviously, we do a lot of work in the English language space, so lots of teaching of the English language. Um, uh, there are all sorts of, because gosh, it's quite difficult to narrow it down because there are all sorts of opportunities. But also, if I give you an example from Pakistan in particular, so recently the British Council has been working um, to develop a set of head teacher standards, and that's going to make it kind of lay out what skills, what knowledge, what values, should a school leader um, have in order to do the job really well. And so we've been working alongside Pakistani officials to develop that, and I think that will be a really supportive tool for both teachers and school leaders. So teachers that are thinking about becoming school leaders and school leaders themselves will really help them to think deeply about the knowledge and skills that they need to develop, and also to kind of identify professional development that they might need in order to reach that particular point.
Okay, fine. That's brilliant. Susan, you have been working on developing leadership skills in teachers and educational leaders. In your point of view, what makes an excellent educational leader in today's world?
Oh, that's a great question. I think for me, what I have looked, because I used to be a school leader myself, I was a head teacher myself. I think that what I've learned over the years is the importance of the school leaders' involvement in the quality of teaching in their schools. I think sometimes as a head teacher, you can get very involved in administrative tasks, or you can get very involved in, you know, the building and the finances and all of that sort of thing. But really what makes the difference is a school leader's active involvement in developing the quality of teaching. And that means doing things like watching teachers teach and then coaching them to improve their teaching. It might be that, the head teacher looks at the quality of books and the quality of the marking in the books, and then coaches the teacher on how to improve that. So I think it's that really active involvement. Oh, and the other thing I think is really important is the head teacher's involvement in um, teachers' professional development. So if a head teacher has watched their teachers teach and really knows, who's a strong teacher, who's maybe finding it more difficult, they'll also be able to identify what is the most important CPD that my teachers need. Is it about, how they manage behavior in the classroom? Or is it about how they structure a lesson and use questioning really well in order to deepen knowledge within the classroom? So I think, yeah, the active involvement of a head teacher in the quality of teaching is by far the most important thing that a school leader can do. And in order to do that well, they need to be able, they need to know what good teaching looks like. And so they need to be able to access the research that shows us what good teaching looks like, and they need to have that knowledge in order to be able to observe and then support teachers to develop the quality of their teaching further.
Yeah, thank you so much. They're all very important points, and your insight is valuable pretty much. Thank you, Susan. Yes, my next question is related to the same question. And what do you advise to the teachers who sometimes quit their own, building their own capacity? Should they have continuous work on their leadership skills and learning more, knowing more about their job and their profession? Or it's fine once they have some ideas and they learn something and then it's okay?
No, I think that the profession does need to engage in continuous professional development all the way through their career, to be honest. What research shows, interestingly, is that when a new teacher goes into school, they rapidly improve by essentially from learning on the job, really. But then it plateaus. And so what teachers need to do in order to make sure that that plateau, doesn't stay on a plateau forever, is they need to continuously learn. And I think that's up to the system, isn't it? It's up to the Pakistani system or the English system, or the Lebanese system, to ensure that there are opportunities for teachers to learn more. And that's not necessarily just about going on courses, for example. That's some of it, but it also might be having the opportunity, for example, to go and observe another teacher teach, because that can help you develop your own skills in relationship to that. So I think it's about the system being set up in such a way that there is an expectation that teachers can continuously hone their skills in order to develop their own quality teaching.
Right. Yes. Thank you so much. Yes, Susan, we know that the world is rapidly changing. Now, it was technology integration in education first, but now we are saying now it is the time for AI integration.
Yeah.
And many teachers are. My question is, what skills should future ready teachers and students focus on?
I think that's a really difficult question to answer, Nakib, because I'm not sure we know what's around the next corner. I think that AI is going to be really interesting in terms of how it might support teaching and learning in the classroom. So I back in February, I was in Singapore and I observed a lesson, for example, where teachers had set up a task, and the young people were writing answers into an iPad, and then the artificial intelligence was marking that as they went on and giving them developmental feedback on how they could improve their work further. That the AI was doing that rather than the teacher, which was extraordinary. Um, and so I think the important thing for teachers is to try and keep up really with some of these developments, because I think it may well have an impact on things like workload for teachers. I think it might reduce workload, but we've also got to use them. We've also got to use it carefully, haven't we? Because we need to make sure that, for example, the example I just gave of an AI tool giving feedback to students, is that good quality feedback it's giving? Is it good enough? So I think it's up to all of us at the moment to try and keep up with the rapid pace of development, um, uh, so that we utilize these amazing tools as effectively as we can do.
Oh, thank you. Susan, I have heard many educators who have concerns about the use of AI in teaching.
Yeah.
They believe that AI may stop creativity or it may be a kind of hurdle in this area. What is your point of view? Do you agree this point of view?
I don't think I do. No, I don't think I do. I think it's up to us to use AI in a way that doesn't restrict creativity. I think it has the potential to allow people to be very creative. Again, in Singapore, I watched students using AI to do some artwork, and it was a supportive mechanism rather than a restrictive one. So no, I don't think it will, but it's this is a tricky area, I think, in terms of how fast things are developing.
Okay, you have been a global educator, I know, and you have been working in more than 60 countries. Pandemic was uh, Corona pandemic was one of the problem for educators and education
Yeah.
worldwide. What other challenges are there for the global education in these days?
Well, I mean, we still have so many, don't we? I mean, we know, for example, that the world has not yet got it right when it comes to the education of girls. That's a big challenge, isn't it, to make sure that girls access and engage in their education successfully. We still have the challenge that we are not educating our young people who have special educational needs and disabilities well enough. We've still got a lot of children with disabilities who are out of school and who are not engaging in education. So that's another big challenge. Um, I mean, those are the two big challenges that come to mind most. And also, I suppose, in a lot of countries, including the one that I'm sitting in now in England, um, children from our poorest families tend not to do as well as our children from affluent families. And so we've got to work really hard to try and close that gap and make sure that children are getting the right sort of provision that will allow them to learn and thrive in their schools.
Have you worked directly with schools or teachers from Pakistan, Susan?
I no, I haven't actually. It's one of the countries that I haven't visited, Nakib. I'm very unlucky. Exactly. I've never visited Pakistan. So I have worked with educators um, from Pakistan in London, for example, like where we met, and also in Nottingham in England. But I've never visited Pakistan. And I'm very sad about that because everybody that visits Pakistan, you had Peter Hall Jones, didn't you, do a
Yeah.
podcast recently?
Yes.
And
Yes.
he's a very good example of someone that went to Pakistan and fell in love with it.
Mm.
It's a country that he loves. And everybody that I know who's been to Pakistan has the same reaction, that they fall in love with it and leave part of their heart there when they leave. So one day I hope that I will be able to rectify that and come to Pakistan and visit.
Yeah, I'm shocked to hear that you haven't been
Yeah,
to Pakistan yet.
I know, I
So,
know.
do you have any future planning to visit Pakistan?
Not at the moment, not at the moment, but I'd love to. I'd love to at some point. I don't choose the countries that I work with.
Mm.
The British Council will ask me to do some work with a particular country, so I'll just have to keep my fingers crossed that one day that changes.
Mm. Oh, so I wish we could host you as soon as possible.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
Okay, right. What low-cost strategies can schools in developing countries adopt to improve learning?
Well, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's all about the quality of the teacher, isn't it? So I would say that the best low cost strategy that you
Mm,
can adopt is for the school leader to be actively involved, as we talked about earlier, in the quality of what's going on in school,
mm,
um, and the quality of what's going on in the classroom specifically, and
mm.
enable teachers to learn from each other in the school in order to improve the quality of teaching. So I would say that that is the most useful and cost effective thing that you can do.
Susan, do you remember your teachers from your primary school? Of
Oh,
course,
I do. Yes, I
I
do.
think, of course, you
I
do.
do.
Yeah. Can you share any piece of advice that you got from your teachers and that played a very good role in your life?
That's another good question. So I think that what my best teachers did was that they gave me confidence in my own ability, and they encouraged me to push myself, push myself as hard as I could to get my qualifications, to go to university. I think that that's what they did. So Mrs. Shaw was my favorite teacher at primary school. I had her when I was about 9 years old, I think, and she made me think I could do anything. She made me confident that I could go out and I could do what I wanted and I could get my qualifications. And yeah, she was a lovely lady.
Hmm. You have now mentioned the name of that
Yeah.
teacher. Uh, what qualities do you think are very important for a teacher to possess in today's world?
Well, I think they have to love learning too. I think that's really important. I know this sounds maybe silly to say, but I think they've got to like children. I think they've got to love spending time with children and young people. I think it's a great joy to spend time with children and young people. Their energy, their being around children is a great pleasure, isn't it? But not everybody thinks that. Some people, that's not for everybody. So I think it's really important that teachers, they love learning themselves, and they love being around young people. Um, I think that you, as a teacher, you have to be fairly resilient, um, because it's not an easy profession. It's a hard profession. So I think you have to be fairly resilient. Um, yeah, those are the three things I would say: love children, love learning, and be resilient.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much. Susan, sometimes we read books, so we get a lot of
Yeah,
lessons through reading. Sometimes, through our experiences, life gives us some pretty good
yeah.
lessons. I'm working in 60 plus countries, being a senior advisor in the British Council. Can you share any lesson that life has given you and that a book could not give?
That's difficult. What have I learned that I didn't learn from a book? I mean, I suppose quite a lot of what I have learnt in my travels around the world, um, has been has been about the power of teamwork, I think. So when I was talking just a minute ago about teachers learning from each other, I think that people don't give that enough emphasis. I think that teachers working together you don't read about teachers working together in textbooks, do you? But it's really important, and I think if you can encourage that in a school, it will undoubtedly improve the quality of what's being delivered.
Okay, thank you, Susan. And I have now my final two questions. I'm pretty thankful to you for your precious time. How can educators connect with or learn from the British Council's resources?
Really simple. I think that's a matter of going on the website. It's very accessible. You've got lots of online courses that you can engage in there, or reach out to your local office, and speak to them. But the website is a really good place to start.
Yeah, there are pretty many projects they
Exactly.
can learn.
Exactly.
Hmm. Okay, now my last but not the least question is, what message would you like to give to young educators and school leaders around the world?
I think that they should just know how important their job is. They're doing one of the most important jobs in the world, and they should be
Right.
proud of that. They should be proud of that. They should keep learning, keep honing their skills and their art, but know that the job that they're doing is incredibly important.
Mm. Uh, we have learned so much from you today, Susan Douglas, and I know you are too busy You have a lot to do. You're working on many projects and you have been working in a lot of countries. Thank you so much for your precious time, and thank you so much for accepting my invitation and participating in my podcast. Thank you, Susan
Not at all. It's
Douglas.
been a pleasure, Nakib. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you. Bye.